And welcome to my channel. And I'm here to review the November 1987 issue of WWF magazine with Bam Bam Bigelow on the cover. So let's get to reviewing. They got an ad for the Power Driver music video. I guess that they're selling. Coliseum videos. Table of contents. A picture of Jesse Ventura saying "Read it," which is reading the WWF magazine, of course. Some ads for wrestling superstars. One, which is sold out, and Superstars 2, that's out now. Around the Ring, where the editor just talks about everything that will be featured in this issue of the magazine. Fan forum, where the fans write letters to the magazine. And the WWF's way of doing it was different than, the Aftermags, because with the Aftermags, they would show every letter. But here, they'd only show a couple of letters, and they only read part of the letter. They don't read the entire letter. So I would think maybe, I don't know which fans would write. I don't know if fans wrote more to Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazines or WWF magazines. I'm not really sure. But they don't show as many letters in WWF magazine as they do in the Aftermaths. WWF's list of most embarrassing moments, and wrestlers are talking about their most embarrassing moments. So Superstar Billy Graham: I was in a restaurant, brother, and a fan came up and asked for my autograph, but he didn't think I was Superstar Graham. You see, he thought I was Jose Estrada. It must have been the head that threw him, the shiny head. Jose Jose's rough, tough competitor, baby, but he's not the superstar. So he got mistaken for Jose Estrada. Coco Beware: my first night wrestling at Madison Square Garden was tough. My first night at Madison Square Garden was tough. I had my bird Frankie on my hand, and he flew off my finger. I looked back, and he was walking on the floor. As my music was playing and I was dancing and the fans were clapping, I had to turn around, go back, and bend down and pick Frankie up. I just felt like crawling into a hole. So that was Coco Beware's most embarrassing moment. Don Morocco: I always considered myself a brilliant strategist, and most of my opponents would agree with me, would agree with that. But picking that buffoon Bob Orton as a tag team partner has to be the most stupid act of my life. I don't know where my head was that day. It certainly wasn't on winning matches. So picking Bob Orton as his tag team partner was his most embarrassing moment. Kim Patera: one time I was changing into my wrestling trunks and my wallet fell out of my pants. Without thinking, I slipped the wallet into my tights and went to the ring. The ref saw the bulge and asked if I was carrying a foreign object. No, ref, just my wallet, I said, and handed it to him. Everybody thought I was paying off the official. So Kim Patera. So people's some of people's most embarrassing moments. Newsbreakers: Heenan signs Rude. Exclusive photo of Bobby Heenan signing Rick Rude to a contract to join his stable, the Heenan family. And of course, when Heenan signed Rick Rude, that got Paul Orndorff mad because Heenan was saying that Ravishing Rick Rude had the best body in wrestling, and Mr. Wonderful thought he had the best body in wrestling. So that got Mr. Wonderful mad, and they wound up Bobby Heenan. Paul Orndorff wound up firing Bobby Heenan for the second time. And, him and Rude went into a feud. Last big run of Mr. Wonderful's career in WWF. personality profile on sensational Sherry Martel. It talks about her debuting and winning the WWF Women's Championship from the Fabulous Moolah. An interview with Coco Beware just talks about him joining the WWF and how it felt to wrestle, being a small guy, how it feels to wrestle the giants at the World Wrestling Federation. And he also talks about singing the lead song on the Power Driver album. Yeah, I didn't really like Coco Beware when I first saw him. He was a lot better than I gave him credit for, and I wish I would have paid more attention to his matches because he definitely was a good wrestler. But I just at that time just didn't really look at him like that. Battle of the Titans, the Hart Foundation versus Paul Roma and Jim Powers, and Mr. T was the outside referee. The Hart Foundation wound up winning the match by the Bret Hart using his feet on the ropes to pin Paul Roma, but then Mr. T saw it and reversed the decision. So Paul Roma and Jim Powers won the match by disqualification, but they didn't win the tag team titles. So I just wonder what the deal was with Mr. T. 'Cause I wonder was he supposed to be leading into a feud with Danny Davis? So I know they got a picture of him and Danny Davis right here. They're around the same size, so I wonder since Davis was the crooked referee and they brought in Mr. T to be the enforcer, was that supposed to lead into a Mr. T versus Danny Davis feud? Because whatever it was, it never happened. I don't know what the purpose of him even being there was. 'Cause he was there for a little while, then he was gone. And then right here, just calling Mr. T just WWF's enforcer and just talks about his run as being a special enforcer. Mind games. And it talks about how wrestlers play mind games with other wrestlers even before the match starts. How they just come to the ring. Like Jake, of course, bringing his snake to the ring. And how that scares people, or that might affect people's minds before the match even gets started. They talk about Hulk Hogan, how he hulks up, but instead of saying hulking up, they said his shake and quake. So instead of hulking up, he was shaking and quaking. But shaking and quaking didn't really catch on, I guess. And hulking up sounds a lot better than shaking quaking. And it talks about the Hart Foundation talking trash before the match. That might affect their opponents, and Hercules bringing the chain to the ring might affect their opponents. Titanic tunes, WWF stars snarl and sing on Power Driver. And this is just the guys talking about the songs on the Power Driver album. The infamous WWF catalog. See, when I look in these early editions, I always try to see if I see Shane or Stephanie on here. I always loved these shirts, man. I always wanted that Macho Man shirt. I got the Hot Roddy Piper shirt years later. Can't sell the Dick Slater shirt no more. Tons of Hulk Hogan shirts, of course. WrestleMania videotapes for 39.99. Well, some are 59. The best of WWF is 59.99. Bloopers and body slams 59.99. But Hulkamania's WrestleMania is 39.99 and WrestleMania 2 is 39.99. WWF bendies. I mean the rubber figures. I never liked the. I mean, I wanted one, but I just never liked them because they was stuck in the same position. Like, how can you wrestle with Roddy Piper in that position? How does Roddy Piper wrestle? How does Hillbilly Jim wrestle like that? So the AWA action figures were so much better. Talking about Bam Bam Bigelow and his debut for the company and how all these managers were scrambling to sign him. And like this was the first time I ever heard of Bam Bam Bigelow. I had never seen him before. So I didn't know what he looked like. So I thought with all these managers trying to sign him, I thought this guy was like looking like Mr. Wonderful from 1986 or something. I thought he was gonna be this jacked, powerful dude. And then when I saw him and he kind of looked like as somebody described as a human Easter egg, I just never took him seriously after that. Even though he was really good, and I didn't really appreciate how good Bam Bam was until years later. But just the way everybody was talking, but the managers was talking about him, I thought he was just Lex Luger looking type guy. And he came in and the way he showed out, I was just like, this is what everybody's talking about. But Bam, he was a great wrestler, but it just took me a while to realize that. And he was mad. Of course, he didn't pick any of those managers: Jimmy Hart, Bobby Heenan, Slick, Johnny V, or Mr. Fuji. But he wound up picking Sir Oliver Humperdinck. Randy Macho Man Savage, the courage of a champion. This is right after he lost the Intercontinental Championship to Ricky Steamboat, but then Steamboat lost to the Honky Tonk Man. So this is right about when Macho Man and Honky Tonk Man are about to have a feud. So Macho Man is just turning babyface. They're trying to paint a better picture of him. Especially they're trying to describe how he was rough to Elizabeth, but they was trying to make it that Elizabeth was tough and she could take it. So, but yeah, Macho Man really looked abusive. He came off as the way when he was a bad guy, he really came off as abusive to her. But they were just trying to claim that as tough as Macho Man is, Elizabeth was a lot tougher and she could take it. So the 80s for you. But Macho Man was like, that was my favorite. This is the man that got me watching wrestling. Macho Man Randy Savage. I wouldn't have been watching if it wasn't for him. This talks about the Strike Force teaming up, but how Rick Martel's partner up and abandoned him while they was in a feud with the Islanders. And then Tito Santana came to his aid, and Strike Force was born. Yeah, Strike Force was a good tag team. They really wasn't around for a longer time. And that match they had against the Brainbusters at WrestleMania 5, you know, before Rick Martel, before Tito accidentally hit Rick Martel, was a really good back and forth match. Then of course, Tito accidentally hit Rick Martel, and then Rick Martel left the match. But up until that point, it was a really good match. Strike Force was a good team. Just wasn't together long enough. Mammoth Dramatics, Andre and Princess Bride, and they're just talking about highlighting Andre making the film The Princess Bride. Which everybody said that Andre really loved that movie. He would always show it to people. Even if they didn't want to watch it, they would watch it because Andre asked them to watch it. So, Private Eye. Brutus Beefcake is learning how to cut hair from some special stylist. Sal something. But he's some big fancy stylist, hairstylist. So Brutus Beefcake is learning to cut hair from him. WWF Lowdown just talks about all of the recent things going on. Wrap up, just wrapping things up from the magazine. Butch Reed, his wrestler's rebuttal. Butch Reed talks about why he wanted to pose down against superstar Billy Graham, and he should have won, but the fans were biased and they cheated for Billy Graham. That Butch Reed said he was the one. He's the natural man in the WWF, and there's nothing natural about Billy Graham's body. So I guess we found out that was true, actually. And Caught in the Act, Can Bulldogs Fly? And just a picture of Bret Hart backdropping Davy Boy Smith. Okay, on the back, Jimmy Hart with an ice cream bar. Finally, superstar even the mouth of the South can lick. So, and with his future buddy, I guess they were still buddies back at that point too, but his buddy Hulk Hogan. Okay, this has been reviewing the November 1987 issue of WWF Magazine. If you like, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.